In episode number 352 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover the future of Warner Bros Godzilla Monsterverse and how it sounds all too familiar.
We also have the unfortunate cancellation of Swamp Thing on DC Universe.
Longtime friend of mine, Macio, guests on to help cover E3 2019, someone who has his finger on the pulse way more than Kelli and I, so he came on to help us out with that.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am leader Daniel.
And I am your almighty Emperor Kelli.
For any brokettes new to the show, the way we format the podcast is first we go through some news. We head into the Patreon shoutouts, which are the thank yous to all the brokettes that make the show possible. And we're going to end it today with the Brokette block, which is where Kelli and I have been the more personal side of the podcast.
But kicking off the news, we have some news about Marvel Studios and their plans for X-Men.
So during an interview with Nuke the Fridge, Marvel Studios' executive vice president of production, Victoria Alonso, talked about how they plan on handling the X-Men at Disney.
She said, quote, "I don't know where the future is going. It's funny that people call it the X-Men. There's a lot of female superheroes in that X-Men group. I think it's outdated." End quote.
Super woke.
Oh my 2019. God. 2019.
What kind of a misunderstanding and mishandling of these characters does this person have? Because the X-Men have always been about the group that's on the outside.
Right.
It's been heavy about people looking at it as like a gay group and how they've been handled by society, minorities. There's a lot of reflections on who the X-Men are, including the women and how women have been treated in not only the book itself, but in society and throughout history.
It just goes to show that they don't really understand, exactly like you said, they don't get what these characters are about, right? But even more than that, they're going to try so hard to be what the internet is asking for and have more female, like, front-facing characters. But they don't get it. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, is they just don't get it.
I think this makes it super clear. The fact that they said they don't really know where the X-Men are at this point, that they never had any initial plans when they bought Fox. This wasn't for the X-Men. This wasn't for the Fantastic Four. This was for the streaming rights and the streaming control that they now have over entertainment in general.
Right,
it's insane. It has nothing to do with the fucking Fantastic Four or the X-Men. That is something that the Marvel sheep wanted as a part of like their reasoning, how they justified it to themselves for this massive monopoly that is happening. It's already a thing. But this goes to confirm that this was never really in the plans. And it's not they're taking their time to make sure. Hell no. If they really cared, they'd have something in place.
Right. And clearly they don't. And again, it goes back to like her quote. It just makes me so angry because they clearly they're going to ruin it. I can already see it. I see it in the future. Ruined.
Well, just like Spider-Man and all the other characters that are nothing like their comic book counterparts.
Of course.
Whatever, this is what people wanted.
But there's going to be a lot of fart jokes in this movie, so it's okay,
Fart jokes, nipple jokes, all of it. Yeah, of course.
And they're going to be called the X-Women, so the X-People.
That'll be the spinoff.
I can't.
Well, those of you looking for a more classic take on the X-Men, maybe the stuff you grew up with, The Hollywood Reporter is saying that the creators of X-Men, the animated series, are looking to bring the series back.
The cast of the series will be reunited at Los Angeles Comic-Con later this year, and they plan on putting together a pitch for Disney that continues the animation style of the 90s cartoon, which stopped airing in 97. So, just something else for Disney to ruin.
Well, I like that it's the original creators, and it's probably a low-risk thing for Disney, honestly. They can play on that nostalgia. if it is old school animation, maybe it's cheaper. I don't know if it will be because it's going to be hand drawn, but some of it will be computer animated. So who's to say that it's not going to just be that, but with that old style? So they definitely need that animation side of their Marvel properties to kind of bulk up, because that's something that they had been lacking and have been for several years. But if this ends up going through and they do X-Men the animated series and it's a huge hit, I want every other property to then give it a go, including Batman the animated series. Like, a lot of articles were saying the greatest superhero animated series is trying to get another season. I'm like, Batman? Fucking the animated series? See, that's the thing. When you say the animated series, you think Batman. You don't think X-Men the animated series or any other the animated Spider-Man the animated series. It's always BTAS. Every single time.
The theme songs for these, I just think of that guy with the glasses. Here's fucking Wolverine. He's a super death machine. That's the limit of my knowledge of X-Men the animated series.
I did watch some of it as a kid, not as religiously as Batman the animated series or Mr. Rogers or some of the other shows that I watched way more than X-Men.
How those two? Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
But because I don't remember a lot of X-Men, I remember Spider-Man more. I like to think that maybe I didn't enjoy it as much as a kid and probably should not revisit and kind of ruin that bit of somewhat okay memory I have of X-Men the animated series. And that mistake happened with Spider-Man. And I went back and saw that several years ago and I said, oh, this is pretty bad. But Batman the animated series still holds up. And there's obviously a lot of cartoons that still do, but I don't think X-Men is going to be one of them. But for people that are fans of the X-Men today because of this cartoon, that maybe got them into the comics because of the show, then I wish them the best. I do hope this goes through and that it's better than ever.
That's not to say that if it does come back as a remake that it won't be better than it used to be, too.
Exactly.
Because these writers, these creators, right, they have 20 years on where they were. So they've had the ability to grow in their storytelling and maybe actually put together something that is nostalgic, right, for the older viewers, but catches younger viewers as well.
Moving along here to the other biggie in the industry with Warner Bros. And what may happen to the future of Godzilla.
Through a corporate talk via Deadline, Warner Bros. Studio chairman Toby Emmerich implied that Godzilla vs. King Kong may get delayed.
Next year's monster movie, Godzilla vs. King Kong, quote, will deliver for fans in the way they were looking for, end quote, in the latest Godzilla. Quote again, it might come out later in the year, so we can deliver an A+ movie, end quote. That makes me nervous as fuck.
Yeah, makes it sound like they're changing things because of reviews, and we all know how that turns out.
Post-production, right?
Ugh.
It's been in post-production. This
Forever.
is why we're getting, we said it last week, if the performance of King of the Monsters had been going on and they were thinking about Godzilla vs. Kong, probably wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they're in post, they got to figure out the way to maximize their profit because they were betting on building on that momentum that would have continued with King of the Monsters into Kong versus Godzilla. And now they got to think of maybe what I'm thinking is it's a fucking another Justice League situation.
Right.
Where instead of splitting this movie, letting it be the two movies where they eventually go into Apocalypse and stop Darkseid, this is going to, I'm thinking this was also set up to be all right, now we're going to have another one after King Kong versus Godzilla, where they then fight another baddie, or there's another set of monsters that get introduced at the end. Instead, maybe it's all just going to be merged into one, and this will be the end cap to the Monsterverse. I honestly don't think they want to continue this Monsterverse after next year's movie.
I mean, that's tough to say, right? I wish they would continue. I think they could still make their money if they did. But my concern really is that they're looking at these reviews and saying, let's add more people to it. It's mostly monster fighting. Let's add some more people.
It's forever reacting to these fucking critics. Like the first time it was not enough monsters. They gave us a ton of, more monster fighting, not a ton. Yeah. The critics overblew it, said that there was no human story or that it sucked or not enough humans. And now they're probably going to track again to cut out maybe more monster fighting. out of King Kong versus Godzilla and add more human elements, or film extra scenes that are going to replace some of the monster lore in Godzilla versus King Kong. And that's shitty and it sucks. And if that's what's actually going to happen, it's a bad thing. I understand that they're trying to recoup some of this loss, but I don't know if this is the right move. I think it's another case of, guys, just move forward. The problem here, the difference here is it's not making money like Batman v Superman did, and yet they were still making changes. In this case, it's absolutely underperforming. So I'm still in the way of going, well, you have it post and finished. Just go through with it then. Don't put any more money and start changing things.
The thing that we have to balance with that, though, is you and I liked the movie, right? We liked this previous Godzilla. And so the people who didn't are saying, yeah, maybe these will be good changes.
Well, why do you think it's not performing as well? Do you really think it's the critics that are causing this loss in ticket sales? Like, we know people listen to critics more than they let on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that could be a big piece of it. I think some of it, too, is, and this goes back again to the critics, right? So you're talking to somebody about a movie, and they say, well, what'd you think of it? And I say, well, I liked it. And they say, oh, because I heard it was shitty. And
right, I hear that a lot.
Right, and then you start saying, well, this and this and this weren't good. And then that's all people are going to hear. They're not going to hear all the good pieces of it after that.
I always follow that statement of, well, I haven't heard good things. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't listen to critics. Oh, no, me neither. Then why'd you say something?
Right.
Why the fuck did you say something? I always want to say that back to them.
Yeah, people are probably listening to the critics, and it's Rotten Tomatoes, I think now, and hopefully it will continue this way, is a lot of people are starting to realize how shitty it is, right? How much it really hurts the movie industry more than it actually helps it. And I hope that we can move away from that soon.
As of today's recording, the movie is still set to release on March 13th, 2020, but I think it will be pushed to probably a fall release.
August. That's what I'm guessing.
Thinking August?
August.
Do you think maybe the release even was not a good one for King of the Monsters? Do you think it should have been later on this year? Since we're still in the tail end sort of Endgame. We have X-Men that came out the following week. There was something else too. Oh, they were talking about the Elton John movie, how that may have affected box office a little bit.
People who are saying Elton John are not also saying Godzilla. They can calm down. No, it's fine. Just leave it and even still, you're talking about Dark Phoenix. I don't think that that's the same market either. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, a massive change that is hitting DC Universe. Just 6 days after episode 1 premiered, Swamp Thing's television show was canceled according to The Wrap. There won't be a season 2. We'll get the rest of these, 9 episodes now, plus the premiere, but that is going to be it.
There was no official reason given why it was canceled, but people speculate that a tax break botched up by fucking North Carolina due to dumbass paperwork errors cost the show over $25 million for season 1.
If they were to even try for a season 2, the budget would be very low and wouldn't match the quality that was season 1, so they ended up just scrapping it. What's funny is North Carolina came out and said, we didn't mess up anything. They signed the papers. They misread what the tax breaks were. We can give a total of this much. They were, as a state, they weren't getting all of that. They were getting this much.
Right.
So there's mistakes all around. They got fucked up with this. They're not getting the tax rebate they wanted. Money got sunk into that show, and they can't put that much more into it again for season 2. So they said, well, whoops. We should have read it closer or filmed elsewhere.
Somebody lost their job.
Oh, all these actors especially. How upset were you? But now reading the reason, are you like, that's kind of a clown move on both parts?
I mean, yes, I'm pretty upset. I enjoyed the first episode. Obviously, we haven't gotten past that, right? Because they're only releasing 1 episode a week. So we'll see how the season continues on. I think that's a a shitty reason to cancel it because it could have been avoided, right? And the show had so much potential. Now, this isn't to say I think it has. Don't give me that face.
I was just going to say that I've seen a lot of people go, oh, that's too bad. I mean, I had some issues with it, but it had a lot of potential. Everything has a lot of potential. Everything
okay,
ever has a lot of potential.
I always talk about things having potential. So let me think in my mind of the potential that it has. The first episode was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Leaf Abs. Okay, and now they're gone. They've been snatched from me.
You still get 9 episodes of it. Hopefully you do, because I don't want him charting back into that fucking annoying human.
What if we don't see him for like another 2 more episodes? What if we don't really see him? Then I only have 7 episodes of Leaf Abs. I can't. That's not enough Leaf Abs.
Yeah, that's too bad. But again, tax purposes, issues.
This doesn't mean that some other network can't pick it up, right? Potentially, if somebody else is like, yeah, let me put money into this.
I've seen that rumor, and people have immediately brought up HBO or the CW. Obviously, everyone goes, Netflix. Relax.
If HBO picks it up, it's going to be Leaf Penises, too, and the world isn't ready for that. I
don't want it to be CW. I like Riverdale, but that's not a DC property.
Right.
And so far with what they've done with Arrow and Flash and everything, people loved it. They enjoyed it, and that's fine. But it's kind of very light television. It's light on storytelling. It is basic TV. And I think Swamp Thing and Titans and Doom Patrol are on that Netflix level of production.
They're very heavy.
But that is not all the news we have this week about DC Universe. According to a report from Deadline, the DC Universe streaming service is being, quote, reevaluated by Warner Media.
So the DC Universe app launched only 10 months ago, but AT&T acquired Time Warner during that period. Since then, they've been reorganizing the company's various divisions.
So a lot of changes happening ever since AT&T took over. They're obviously opening up the books and they're saying, why are we losing money here? Why don't we cut this? Or why don't we add money onto this? And maybe based on how well DC Universe is performing, they're taking a look at that and maybe considering making some changes to it, including possibly getting rid of it completely. But these are all it's all speculation.
Rumors, right. It's only been around for 10 months. Like, give it a chance. Give it a chance to make some money.
Well, they look at the subscriber numbers and they're trying to see if they're acquiring them based on now 3 original TV shows that they have available, plus the addition of all of the comic books through their digital service too. But a new Warner Media streaming service is set to launch, as we all know, later this year. People are thinking that maybe DC Universe is going to be merged onto that platform, along with their other streaming services like Boomerang, to make that Warner streaming service that much more appealing, maybe even offer some kind of discount for current subscribers of DC Universe.
Boomerang?
Yeah, all the Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Oh, man. I'm going to have no time left in my day.
Honestly, wherever these shows land, I will follow them there if it's the DC Universe app ending or not. I think the Warner app is something we were going to get regardless because of the movies that they will be offering on there. But if it ends up being a merging of these things, one, I think consumers will like that more because it's all in one type of thing. Even though initially they'll bitch about yet another streaming service like they always do. But in this case, if they end up merging some of these things together into one, they can offer more value for their one subscription.
I could definitely see also. So in our case, like you paid for the year up front for the DC Universe.
Happily.
Yes. I mean, I feel like we've gotten our use out of it. But I could even see in instances where that happened, like they give you a significant discount for the rest of the year if they merge it and you switch over. It wouldn't make sense for them not to do that and just say, whoop, well, you shouldn't have paid for the year.
Right.
Like that'd be real shitty.
Since we are about to hit that year mark where people's subscriptions will end if you signed up for the year, I think in the next 2 months, we'll start hearing their plans for the future of DC Universe. And we will absolutely cover it right here on the show. But to anyone thinking that DC is all doom and gloom right now, first off, before we get into the story, I want to make it clear once again, and this is for newer listeners that maybe just joined on in the last month or two, the way that Warner is ran. So you got AT&T owning all of this. Then you got this other slightly smaller umbrella underneath that is Time Warner. Then you have other tinier umbrellas, like a tiny umbrella that's DC Comics. And under DC Comics, there's even more umbrellas, separate companies, all individually ran, even though it's all owned by Warner Brothers. And even that's owned by AT&T. So the comics side can be successful, while the film division side could be struggling, while the streaming service side is they're each independent companies. Dan DiDio is not over there at DC Universe or CW going, hey, we should do this. It's all independent. This is why he said before they can't just have the actors hold up and promote the comics or have them promote DC Universe or any of that. Even though it's beneficial for AT&T in the end, it's not beneficial for each of these separate entities, because as we talked about earlier, when they open the books, they need to prove that they are pulling in money, that they are worth having around, because otherwise, that's when you have these executives losing their heads and you get fired. So when people are saying, when they look at the movies and think, the fucking movies are failing, what the hell, I don't know what they're doing. Well, the comics are doing great, and that's its own thing. Don't think that this is all just overall DC or overall Warner Brothers.
And it's like that for the most part with most companies, too.
Mm-hmm.
When you have film and other things, right? They're all separate. You don't have, for instance, the person running the Marvel movies jumping on over into Disney parks and saying we should do this.
Exactly.
Like, they're different things. So always remember that in large companies, especially media companies, everything's run by different people.
And that being clear, because of May 2019's Diamond Report, we know that Deceased, #1 from DC Comics, it's their DC Zombies miniseries essentially, was the best-selling direct market book.
Dun 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 dun. Deceased is #1. That's as far as I got. Sorry.
Give me more dark books, DC, because I will sell the shit out of them, just like Deceased.
The shit.
But not only was it that they had the #1 best-selling book of May 2019, but DC Comics had 6 titles in the top 10, including Doomsday Clock #10 and Batman Last Night on Earth.
Marvel did remain May's top publisher with a dollar share of 40.46% of sales and a unit share of 39.75%. Because they overcharge for their books and they make you purchase so many of them.
Well, the problem now, here's the different strategies, and I can tell you this from, well, go ahead and tell them how DC's actually closed the gaps from these numbers.
So DC has begun to close the gaps. It placed second with 28.22% dollar share and 38.58% unit share. So they're only 1% away from unit share. And of course, dollar share is lower because they charge less.
Exactly. So that's the difference. But a lot of articles have especially been looking at last month's numbers because of that unit share percentage. Mm-hmm. That is huge. And that's especially big because the strategies of both companies are very different right now. Marvel is trying to flood the market with as many books as possible. And what they'll do is they'll cancel, as soon as sales start to dip a lot, where it will start costing them a lot of money to keep these teams on, they'll straight up cancel the book and they'll have a new #1 for something else with 8 variant covers for that.
Of course.
Just to bloat the sales and bloat the numbers, and people jump on because it's a new #1. And then when those numbers start dipping, they just boot the team off and they go off to something else. This is why their talent isn't very good right now, and this is why their quality of storytelling is not great. They're losing a lot of artists and writers to not only DC, but to the independent companies or to Image Comics or these publishers that are willing to give them their own regular stories or give them the rights to characters and to stories. Or they pay much better like DC Comics does. And because of that, they have cheaper artists, cheaper writers that are going to put out work that reflects that. You open up Black Cat #1, the cover is amazing, J. Scott Campbell, right? But then you look at the interiors, it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, what the fuck happened here?
Is that who drew it? Jesus fucking Christ?
It's insane. You do that with any of these Marvel books, and you're like, this artwork is, I don't know, unless it's a premier title like War of the Realms, it's really rough to look at a Marvel book, but that's their thing. They'll flood the market, as many books as possible, cancel things. Star Wars, thankfully, they have that shit because it's selling like crazy for me still. And the Darth Vader books, keep doing those, Marvel, because I love them. I love how much they sell, and readers like them too. So that's where you win overall. But when you're trying to put as many units out there as possible,
Right.
that's an issue. Whereas DC, what they're doing is they're refining the line. As we heard last time, Vertigo got cut, and they're cutting titles as well. Like Green Arrow hasn't had a title in months now. And what they're doing is they're keeping the titles that are working, and they are trying out other things like the Black Label line, which Last Night on Earth did amazing. Deceased is doing amazing. And they're having these artists do these amazing covers and variants as well without any kind of silly incentive. And on top of that, they just made Lois Lane #1 returnable, which is huge for one of the big two. So it hasn't come out yet. It's coming out in a few months, but it's one of the main books that in a while that they've made returnable for retailers, which if retailers support it, they'll, one, bump the numbers up for that title and maybe make more titles returnable, which helps the consumer, it helps the comic shop, it helps the publisher. Everyone wins if that's the direction it keeps going in. So you can see two different philosophies here between these two companies. And I think that because DC is heading in this refining direction, that's why that unit percentage is growing for them, and it's almost eclipsed Marvel's as of last month, which is crazy seeing as how many titles and how many books Marvel has on the shelf.
I think, just to kind of summarize all that, we've mentioned it multiple times on this show, is that Marvel just makes it so difficult for you to be a retailer and to know the correct amounts that you need to get and how to market these for, your customers. And you've even said when they come out with the second issue, right, you have to order it months or a long time before you even get the first one out. And they're saying, well, you better order 200% of what you sold for the first one. And it's like, well, you don't know what you're going to sell. So you don't want to take that risk. And so for DC, it really feels like it has the retailer in mind. It has the customer in mind when they're making these things. And, it shows. You see it right here. 1% away from what Marvel sold is pretty fantastic.
And the success does continue for Deceased because they are getting a one-shot spin-off titled Deceased: A Good Day to Die, where readers will follow a team made up of Mr. Terrific, Mr. Miracle, Big Barda, Booster Gold, John Constantine, and others.
We have a quote here from the creator and writer Tom Taylor, who said, quote, "With these epic scopes of this series, there was no way to fit all the characters and all the ideas I had into just 6 issues. We had a whole cast of characters whose tale was ending up on the comics cutting room floor. Writing is about killing your darlings, but these were darlings I wasn't even going to get the chance to kill until the idea of this special was released by editor Ben Abernathy."
End quote. And this one-shot is set to release on September 4th with a Deathstroke zombie variant by Francesco Mattina. So he's still working. The allegations of him copying artwork, which was true, did not end up getting him fired.
Good
And
for him.
it seems like the internet didn't really care that much. So these covers have been doing great. He's doing zombified portraits of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Deathstroke, Harley Quinn, I think. Maybe Joker is one of them. I think it was Joker. And they're selling like crazy. Plus they have the horror movie posters, which are also doing great. So bring it all on. I saw one comment in the Newsarama section of, you have one success, start milking it, I guess. And I said,
like Marvel does?
I had the one main comment of, if this were Marvel, there'd be 6 miniseries, there'd be 4 tie-ins for 3 months on different series that are ongoing, there'd be a prelude, and there'd be 8 one-shots. That's the Marvel method of doing that.
Right.
I would hardly call a single one-shot milking it. And I love that single one shot because I'm going to sell the shit out of that. And readers are also going to appreciate it because they're going, oh, great. And they've told me this before. When Heroes in Crisis came out, they said, thankfully, it's not a million tie-ins. If I want to read everything, I can get the Batman and Flash one, the 4-issue crossover, or I can just read Heroes in Crisis. There's no Heroes in Crisis Alert or whatever. All that shit.
Crisis Alert.
Fucking, I don't know what Marvel would have done, and they would have done it. And DC has remained very restrained in that, and it's helped out because now readers are more willing to try out these 6-issue series like Deceased, like Last Night on Earth, and give them a shot because they're not getting overrun or they're not worried about, Absolute Carnage. Now I got to get 8 fucking miniseries, all the tie-ins. That's how they're doing it. A one shot, maybe 2. I think it's 2 one shots until next month when they announce another month of this shit.
Right.
This is how you fucking do it. A one shot is not milking the series. And because of that, fuck yeah, readers are gonna thank the company by doing buying what they want. And what they want is more of the series, because guess what? It's fucking working. And it's not a matter of, well, the story's great, that's why they're buying it. Then why'd I sell out of number 1? They didn't know if the story was gonna be good.
Right.
They like the premise, they like the tone, and the covers are amazing. We'll find out with issue 2. Oh wait, I'm selling out of that too.
Oh wait, the story is great. Surprise.
But that rounds out our comic book news. We're now going to head into the massive bit that was E3 2019. So here's where we're going to insert the segment covering E3 2019 with guest Macio, who I've known for many years. And you will hear all about that in just a moment. But otherwise, Palpa Kelli and I will be back with your Patreon shoutouts. And welcome to the E3 2019 portion of this year's coverage. And you had been seeing the tweets throughout the last couple of months about getting Macio on here, longtime Broquette and longtime friend of mine as well. This is his first time coming on the podcast, so this is also his The Reasons I'm Broke debut for the show here. And I knew that if I needed... I'm out of touch with games more than ever now. It is a byproduct of parenthood. And I knew that I needed someone with the knowledge, someone who used to be one of my managers at GameStop many years ago, and someone who still has that knowledge and still keeps up with a lot of these games and news, can really talk about this stuff way better than Palpa Kelli and I could. So thankfully, Macio did agree to come on the show and help out with this coverage today. Macio, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me on. And please don't bring up our old past at GameStop.
You what? Yeah, there were fun times. Sometimes.
There were. Sometimes. Very much.
But yeah, ever since working together at GameStop, obviously you develop friendship with some of the people that you work with, and Macio was one of those. And every month we still hang out for our UFC nights, have some food and drinks, and kind of catch up on everything. So thankfully he was able to come on and help out with the episode today. And go ahead and give him a breakdown on a little bit of your background in gaming. Which company do you lean on, and what games are you currently playing?
Basically, I would say when I first started playing games, I was a huge Sega. I started off with the Sega Genesis, and then from there, I went on to Nintendo. I had an N64 when I was growing up, PlayStation, and I say all this, and it sounds like I'm rich, but like this is like years after the when I got a PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2 was already out. So this is like. Thing is dusty old, getting games with no labels on them. Yeah, so I used to super lean heavy on Sega and Nintendo. The first console I got around launch was the original Xbox, and from then on, I've been pretty much an Xbox head.
That's pretty similar to my upbringing with gaming. Like, I was a big Genesis kid, and I didn't really have a big Nintendo console. I guess I did grow up with the NES, but being that, we didn't grow up with expendable income, really, we only had that Mario and Duck Hunt combo cartridge, and that was literally it. So the first major Nintendo game or console I really dove into was the Game Boy Pocket because of Pokemon. And then from there, it spiraled into the N64, the GameCube, and obviously Sega wasn't really offering what I used to play and game with. So I've kind of been a Nintendo guy since then. So that's why a lot of this news that we're going to cover is heavy on Xbox and on Nintendo. But we do have some third-party stuff here that you had mentioned we can discuss on, and maybe you have some experience on a couple of these third-party games.
Absolutely. And I just want to say that you brought up Game Boy, and I completely spaced out. I had a Game Boy Pocket when I was growing up, for sure. Played tons of Pokemon, Tetris, and Mortal Kombat 2 for some reason. A lot of Mortal Kombat 2.
Everyone had Tetris. That was like, I think that was still one of the best-selling games aside from Pokemon Yellow on the Game Boy.
Yeah. Everybody had it. Everybody I knew played Tetris. And I was trash at Tetris somehow.
So let's get started on the E3 2019 highlights. So these are going to be the big hitters. Some of the smaller stuff you can obviously read on online, but we saw a lot of news stories that weren't massive to gamers overall. But this is the stuff that really moved the needle for a lot of people on Twitter and online. So we're going to start off with the big one, which is Project Scarlet. And this is the next Microsoft console that is set to release in the 2020 holiday season. So this was something that was expected, right, from gamers. We just finally got that confirmation this year.
Yep, absolutely. Microsoft was pretty much hinting at it last year at last year's E3. They said they were working on a really strong console that was going to follow up the Xbox One X. So we pretty much knew that it wasn't going to come out in 2019. PlayStation, Sony already came out and said a month before E3 that PlayStation 5 was coming out holiday 2020. So all of this was pretty much known. We kind of assumed that they were going to come out and say these things. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see what the console looked like, but they kind of delved deeper, and at least they told us what game is definitely going to be coming with the console in holiday 2020.
Do you think it was a mistake to not show the console? Because I feel like we would see way more tweets and Instagram posts if they had some kind of visual to go with it.
Yeah. Funny thing is that back, I want to say it was 2013 when Microsoft originally showed the Xbox One. At E3, they showed exactly what the console looked like. And one of their executives, one of the people that work at Microsoft, kind of made a jab at PlayStation and at Sony because they talked about the console, but they didn't show it at all. And they said something like, I wonder how that's going to turn out, talking about something and not showing it. So they did it this year. Talked about something, didn't show anything. I'm sure they don't even know what the console is going to 100% look like at this point in time. So I don't blame them for showing anything, but they didn't even go deep into the specs. They kind of did an overarching view of everything.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of put down here for the Project Scarlet, that it's going to have a solid state hard drive, which is pretty big on reducing load times. You see that with PCs and Macs, where it's kind of a standard, and a lot of people are starting to use them. I remember when I was upgrading my PlayStation 4's hard drive, people were saying, get a solid state hard drive, it's going to be much quicker. And after doing some research, it doesn't do that much of a difference with the PlayStation 4. But obviously there had been potential with that on consoles in the future. But the processor itself being 4 times stronger than that of the Xbox One X, obviously these consoles are going to be much more powerful, much more stronger. So do these specs at all mean anything to you, or is it just kind of expected as a consumer?
It's expected. 4 times is pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes up because PlayStation, Sony, they didn't really say too much about their console and they didn't give a number. And this year, Microsoft was very vague. I believe at one point in time on the video when they were talking about the console, one of the executives said it was a monster eater, which I have no idea what that means. But when they announced the One X, they proudly put their foot in the ground and said, this is the strongest console ever made. And they didn't do that with this one. So to me, it seems like there's some little trepidation there. They're not sure if they're going to have the strongest console this time around. So they're not coming out and saying straight up, this is the strongest console, you need to pick us.
And that's probably a product of them simply not knowing, anyone knowing how strong the PlayStation 5 is going to be.
Yep.
We do know that there's going to be 8K resolution support, which I didn't even know was a fucking thing. I'm still going into buying my first 4K TV. Now I'm thinking like maybe I should wait for the 8K TVs to come out. What the hell? 120 FPS. All right, fine. That's more believable. But this is the first time I've heard of 8K.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a fucking second. As
Really?
a person that used to play PC and as a strong Microsoft supporter, I don't believe the 8K shit at all. There's some 6K TVs out right now that are like $5,000. So 8K,
Okay.
I don't believe it. I mean, they said Xbox One X was a 4K gaming machine. And to be honest, it really isn't, because it can't even run 4K 60 frames per second.
Gotcha.
So how am I supposed to believe something that's 4 times stronger than the One X, some can jump resolutions more than 4 times, and then frame rates twice? It's doubling the frame rate. So I don't even think a PC to do this type of performance would cost crazy amounts of money. So I don't think Microsoft's doing it, but I mean, it's cool that they can say the number, I guess.
Yeah. We'll probably get more specifics next year as we get closer to that holiday season. Are we going to get did they confirm any kind of game that's going to launch for that?
They came out and straight up said Halo Infinite will launch alongside the Project Scarlet, whatever they're going to name it when it comes out, which is amazing.
Are you a Halo guy?
Absolutely.
I wasn't clear on that over the years.
Anybody that knows me knows I'm a Halo guy. That was one of the first game I had on my Xbox when I originally got it. I've played every single Halo. Actually, for anyone that's listening, if you live in the Orlando area, Microsoft is actually doing a Halo Fest in Orlando July 4th weekend. So I'll be out there on Saturday, July 6th. So if you want to say what's up to me, definitely come check me out. But yeah, I'm huge into Halo, and this was incredible. I wish they would have showed a little bit of gameplay, but I know it's so far out, they don't want to, give away anything. Hopefully they might break some stuff down at the Halo Fest, but other than that, perfect. They need a strong launch title to come out with this Xbox.
Do you think that them not showing, even if it's just a pre-rendered movie, because the specs are so unfinalized, it sounds like that if they had even a small clip of Halo himself churning around and having that resolution, whatever it may be, people would then nitpick it and say, well, hold on a second, this doesn't look like 8K resolution, or it doesn't look like 124. Would it even matter if they even showed that? Because people would say, well, it's not really gameplay.
Yeah, and they actually did show a little small movie, but they didn't say this was rendered in engine. This is kind of like, you know how when they show trailers, they kind of say, oh, this is what we think the gameplay is going to look like, or this is what we think the graphics are going to look like. It said absolutely nothing. It was just a movie. And we saw Master Chief. We kind of saw what the art direction that they're going with this game. So that was cool, but it didn't really say anything. We didn't get a glimpse of the story on why he was floating in space, or why this random guy picked him up in the ship. We don't know really anything about what's going on. So it was a cool little clip. Pulled those nostalgia strings a little bit because we got to see the Chief. But other than that, they didn't really give us anything else.
I'm not too sure who this Master Chief guy you're talking about, but did they not kill off Halo in the last one?
No. He never really dies.
Still around.
Still around.
That's good. Kicking. Yeah, you can't kill him off. No, he's the man, right? It's like killing off Metroid. Yeah. One thing they did say is that the Xbox, actually, this is not related. Well, it might be, because Project Scarlet didn't really go into specifics on what kind of, at least as far as I know, what kind of format it's going to play games in. But the fact that the Xbox One was announced as having console streaming available starting this year in October, do you think that Project Scarlet is going to be the first discless version or discless console out there?
No, well, it technically wouldn't be, because Microsoft already makes a discless Xbox One right now. That's currently true. But no, they actually came out today and they were going over their backwards compatibility. The Project Scarlet, they announced on stage that it was going to be fully compatible with the Xbox One games. And so today they announced that all of the accessories, the controllers for the Xbox One, also work on Project Scarlet. Nice. So that's a relief. But when it comes to the games, they said it's fully backwards compatible, even the discs as well. So it will have an optical drive. We don't know if it's going to be Blu-ray or if they're going to come out with some whole new tech. It will read some form of Blu-ray disc for sure.
Mm-hmm. So that probably also means Blu-ray movies. I know there's been consoles where they won't read DVDs even though it's on a DVD disc, but in this case, most likely it will also double as a Blu-ray player.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, they were huge on the whole Xbox One X being a Ultra HD 4K Blu-ray streaming machine. So I wouldn't see them moving past that. I know they're focusing a lot on games this go around, but that's like the bare minimum. I'm sure they're going to put it in.
Games are definitely huge with this conference that we saw, and something that I kept seeing on our Discord and as well as the Lazy Gaming guys is that the Xbox Game Pass seems to be a pretty big value for gamers out there. Now, what exactly is the Xbox Game Pass?
All right, so they started this off, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but basically Xbox Game Pass is Netflix for games on Xbox. And this year they announced at E3 that they were going to be doing Xbox Game Pass, as they already are doing that for the Xbox One. They're going to be doing it for PC. So
Nice.
Now if you have a PC, you'll be able to do the Xbox Game Pass. They'll have over 100 titles from you to choose from. And basically it's like Netflix. You know how Netflix, they have their original shows like House of Cards, rest in peace. They'll have their original games like Gears, Halo, that if you have the Xbox Game Pass, when those games come out, you can get them. You'll get them. You don't have to pay $60. You're already paying for your subscription.
So these are new titles too.
Yeah, there'll be brand new titles. Pretty much any game that's published by Microsoft will be in the Game Pass. So you're paying for your subscription. You got any game published by Microsoft. And then they'll have the third-party games that'll just come in and out whenever they choose, just like Netflix. You know, some games stay on longer than others, kind of like how The Office has been on Netflix for fucking forever. So they'll have those kind of games that are staples, will stay there for long periods of time. And then they'll have those games that are there for like 3 or 4 months. They rotate out, and they'll constantly add new waves of games.
So very much the contract renewal, probably, as they have been doing with, as you mentioned, Netflix on these TV shows. Do you have I don't know if you've already used the Game Pass, but do you think that when a game comes off of, let's say, streaming after their 2-year, 3-year contract, that players will then have the option to buy the game digitally, maybe at a discount if they've played the game before?
Right now, how it works is that you can buy the game at discount while it's in the Game Pass. I'm not sure if it leaves if you can get it at discount, but they always give you a heads up saying what games are leaving. So that gives you the chance to say, oh, this game's leaving, but I still want to play it. Let me get it at that. I believe it's a 10% discount. So it's not a huge discount, but it's a little bit of something. And then on top of that, when it comes with the Xbox Game Pass, they actually announced the Ultimate Pass that gives you Xbox Live, so you can play your games online. And then it gives you the Game Pass for PC and Xbox One. So you have both for if you play PC or you play Xbox, you'll be able to do the Game Pass. And the PC Game Pass and the Xbox Game Pass, they're not going to have the same games. So
if you want, you'll have more access to them then.
Exactly. And that was $14.99, which is a pretty incredible deal. And I'm sure they'll sell the same thing like how they sell the Xbox Live cards. They sell the PSN Network cards. They'll probably sell those Game Pass cards, and they'll probably go on sale at like Target on Black Friday and stuff like that. So you'll be able to get it at an even bigger discount.
Have they announced any similar passes for, I know Nintendo doesn't really have this, but for PlayStation, for example?
They haven't yet, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sony does something like this. They already have the PlayStation Now streaming, so you pay per month for that. But they haven't released anything like this, and I'm really surprised that they haven't jumped on this wave. I mean, when Microsoft was doing Xbox Live, PlayStation said, "Oh, we're not going to charge. We're not going to charge. We're not going to charge," and they said it till they're blue in the face. They always threw shade at Microsoft up until the PlayStation 4 came out, and then they started charging.
Right.
So I will see. I can't foresee them not hopping on this wave because subscription models is everywhere. We got them on streaming services for video, we got them for music, and now we have them for games. So I can't imagine that they're not going to talk about it or not going to come up with their own service like this.
Definitely seems like the future. And obviously I have to go back to like my old GameStop days and remember that a lot of these customers that we would sell games to, like they would buy, maybe spend about that $14 to $30 range on one game. So to a lot of those gamers that would make multiple trips to their GameStop for the cheaper games or even for like that one $30 title, this is going to satisfy a lot of consumers and really, if this takes off, of course, really change the market for physical games sold at not just places like GameStop, but your Best Buys, your Walmarts, and your Targets, even Amazon.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. If this catches on, man, we could already go ahead, pour the liquor over fucking GameStop's grave. They're pretty much already out of the game for the most part. So we could go ahead and say our prayers. Rest in peace, GameStop. You did us well. Actually, you didn't. You fucked us over. But yeah, this is incredible. $14.99, or if you're just doing just the Game Pass, if you don't play online, $9.99 a month, and you get access to 100 games. I mean, you can't beat that. $120 a year. That's 2 games.
Yeah.
So if you're paying for 2 games, you're already there. You might as well just go ahead, sign up for the Game Pass. You can get a whole access to a slew of games, and then the games that aren't in the Game Pass, you can just go buy them.
And a lot of these games that we have on this list, you're probably going to be able to play on the Game Pass and other similar services if they really do decide to jump on this with the other consoles. But go ahead and kick us off with the one that has really taken the internet by storm due to a, I guess, cameo at the end of the trailer, reveal, I should say, at the end.
All right, so when I was watching this live, because I watched the Microsoft presser live, I was super surprised. I actually ended up showing the trailer to my wife, and I just showed it to her, and she was just like, I don't know why you're showing me this, and boom. So Cyberpunk 2077, a game made by CD Projekt Red, the creators of The Witcher 3 or the Witcher series. This is their new Cyberpunk RPG, first-person RPG game. Looks incredible, and at the end of the trailer, after all the commotion, slides in John Wick himself, Keanu Reeves.
And he was even at the conference, right? He shows up on stage.
Yeah, he popped up on stage. The fucking crowd went nuts. They barely let him get through the damn talking points. He's over here. He just hammed it up. Super cheesy, super goofy. And he was just like, yo, I got it. I gotta get through this. Like, we're on a timetable here. Like, these guys want me to get in and get the fuck off. I'm not getting paid to be out here for 30 minutes trying to tell you guys about Cyberpunk 2077.
What kind of game is this?
Basically, I would say it's basically just a first-person RPG. I'm pretty sure it has shooting elements. They showed a little bit of gameplay last year, not on stage. They had like a backstage demo for all the journalists. And it was basically just a first-person RPG with shooting and all these type of really heavy story elements that CD Projekt Red are known for. You play as V, which is a male or a female. You create the character how you want them to look. You can make them straight, you can make them gay, whatever you want to do. Yeah, you just go around killing shit. I don't know too much about the story just yet, but it looks incredible.
So you don't play as Keanu, he's just a character in the game?
Yes, he's just a character in the game. I guess maybe you get to side with different factions, and he's one of the factions that you can side with.
Can one of the factions be Liam Neeson? Like, can we get all these celebrities, all these badass fucking action stars?
That's the rumor going around.
That's insane.
There's other celebrities in this game. I think I saw one where they said that Lady Gaga is also in the game.
Of course.
I don't know if that was a troll or not. It's really hard because there's so much that we don't know about this game. Normally CD Projekt Red doesn't really have any celebrities in their game like that. I mean, they have the obvious, big name voice actors because, those dudes like Troy Baker and what's the other guys? Nolan something?
Nolan North?
Can't remember. Yeah, they're on damn near every game. It doesn't matter what it is. They're in it doing a voice somewhere. So I'm sure they're in there somewhere. But all these rumors and speculation going around that there's other celebrities. So I guess we'll see. It comes out April 2020.
All right. Well, if we see Liam Neeson there, you fucking heard it here first.
Damn right. See, that's Kelly. Just next show, just go ahead, throw that in there. Because if you say it, then it'll happen.
That's confirmed. Yeah. Another game that was coming out, the Dragon Ball franchise still does extremely well. And we got Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which is also an action RPG, very different from what we got before with Dragon Ball Fighter Z. This is coming out next year at some point. I'm sure Dragon Ball Fighter Z 2 is in the works, but as they normally do with this franchise, they'll have alternating games and styles to kind of have different teams working on this property and not just have a game every 3 to 4 years when you could be making double to triple your money. So did you get a chance to check out this trailer?
Yeah, it looked really cool. I'm really conflicted, man. I love Dragon Ball. I love Dragon Ball Z. But man, we've played this story how many fucking times? How many Budokais? How many fucking Tenkaichis? How many Raging Blasts? Like, how many times are we gonna play the story of fucking Goku? Like, I love this story, and I'm sure this is gonna be somewhere different because it's an action RPG. Most of those games are just straight up like 3D type brawlers. Mm-hmm. And the last action RPG they had, I don't remember the name of it, but it was those Dragon Ball Z games that were on the GBA on Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
And those are good. Yeah, Legend of Goku. Those were really good. I enjoyed those games immensely, but that was the last time we had it. So I get it that it's going to be a whole different type of style, but like, how much RPGing can you do with Goku? Like, you can't dress him up with different clothes. It's Goku. He has to wear the standard orange jumpsuit. Like, what you're gonna put points into fucking Kamehameha? Like, what are we doing here? So I'm very skeptical of this one.
Yeah, that's actually the only real negative thing I have is it's like, all right, well, we're gonna fight Vegeta again, and we're gonna fight Frieza again, and we'll do it differently, but we're going to see the same cutscenes and the same kind of pre-rendered things. And as you said, it's been years and years that we've been doing this. And hopefully the gameplay is fun enough that you will want to go through those same story points yet again. And I don't even know if there's something in that contract with Funimation where maybe they can't stray too far as the story. They can't do original content because that'll fuck with what they did with Dragon Ball Super. Maybe that's one of the things, but it's kind of bizarre that they went for a more traditional type of story in this case. Unlike what, yeah, sure, we got the same story points in Dragon Ball Fighter Z, but that wasn't even close to the main point of playing those games.
Yeah, and I see the angle that they're going with this, where you're playing Goku's story only. So maybe they might go and do the stuff when he was in what's the world called when he dies? When he goes over there and he fights Pycon and do all that shit. Maybe they might go through all of that. Mm-hmm. And you won't play as like Tien or Vegeta or some shit. But it's like, come on, like there's Super. We have a whole new universe that has yet to be explored within like playing the story as it's being told. And there's enough that they could do right now with Super's story and make a game. And they can make an action RPG with just that. They don't need to retread the tires on Goku. I mean, I'm sure there's, kids now that are 10 years old. Maybe they don't know the story somehow. I don't know. But for people our age, it's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, we know the stories from the fucking back of our hand.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll do okay for them, and maybe I'll check it out. But I guess we'll see. We'll see next year as they reveal more on the actual gameplay for this.
Yeah, Papa Kelly doesn't want to fucking play as Goku, man.
No, she's like, fucking Dragon Ball Z Kakarot? Who cares?
Yeah. And I'm there with her. Who cares?
Who cares? And here's something that I'm also like, this looks like fucking garbage. Holy shit, man. The MCU sheep were even divided on this one from what I saw on Twitter, because they did not look anything like what Disney has set up was the main complaint I saw from those people. But to me, it all looked like garbage. And that is the Marvel Avengers game from Square Enix, which I don't know why people were calling this the Avengers Ultimate Alliance game. You had told me before we started recording that this is simply a 4-player co-op game, and nothing that I saw from the video told me that it played anything like that Ultimate Alliance series.
Yeah, I don't know where they're getting it from. I mean, I guess maybe they might have said something on the stage that we missed because we were just laughing at how shit it looked. But yeah, I'm not a fan of what I saw so far. I mean, when it comes to Marvel games, we just had an incredible Spider-Man game. Looked incredible, looked like Spider-Man, played like Spider-Man. This just didn't look good. I didn't like what they did with Captain America. Spoiler alert, I'm not the hugest Marvel guy. Or really, I'm not even the hugest comic book guy. Captain America with the whole military outfit and fucking bulletproof vest on. Shit looked fucking stupid as hell.
Yeah.
Hulk jumping out, Bruce Banner jumping out the fucking plane and then landing down, and now he's Hulk. Just didn't look intriguing. But I mean, they didn't show gameplay. I mean, we can't really judge, I guess.
The one thing that stuck out to me, and obviously the faces looked really weird and realistic in a way. Did they pre-render the actors' faces onto the characters? Because I got some Heavy Rain, some like poor man's Heavy Rain vibes on the face captures.
I wouldn't be surprised, because that seems to be the trend that's going around. Instead of actually having animators make faces, they just mocap the actual voice actors so it can match 1-to-1. But they didn't say. But one thing I am reading here, I was kind of like doing some little research on this, that this is supposed to be a live service game, kind of like Destiny or Anthem.
Okay.
If you're familiar with that, where they'll probably add new characters and new parts into the game, new DLC that'll be probably free, and they'll have some form of microtransaction that they can get to, maybe like skins, different costumes that you could wear or something like that.
Does that mean that it's constantly online, kind of like players can join in and you can see other players interact in the game?
I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's just when they say live service, they just mean that it's just going to be a game that they put out. It'll be a while before they get sequels. So usually that's what happens with these live service games. You play them for about 3 to 4 years, and then the sequel comes out. And in that time, they just hammer you with content. They just put different new characters, new skins, new weapons, new maps. So I'm assuming that's what they're going to do with this. And since it's Marvel, I guess they just think it's going to print money.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing more hype for the Marvel Ultimate Alliance game than I am seeing this, but this is also its initial announcement. That being said, a lot of the press has been negative that I've been seeing on Twitter and online. I don't know. I mean, hopefully it improves for fans of this, but obviously I'm going to skip out on it.
And if you're interested in this game, if you like 4-player co-op games, check it out. It'll be coming out May 15, 2020.
Something else that came out of the Square presentation, and I know you wanted to specifically cover these two games. I know all the weebs out there are like tuning in right now. Final Fantasy VII, the remake, got way more information on its release, and we saw several videos, but all coupled with that was also the Final Fantasy VIII Remastered Edition.
Yes, I definitely wanted to talk about this. These are specifically Final Fantasy VIII was a game that one of the first games I got on PlayStation 1, and is actually the only Final Fantasy game that I've actually finished.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I never actually owned Final Fantasy VII. And I was supposed to do this, like, back in the day when, you're broke, but your friend has a game, you have a game, you switch. Yeah, I was supposed to do something like that, and it just never ended up happening. So I never played Final Fantasy VII, but this remake looks incredible.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have the release dates handy, but I'm guessing this is all 2020 as well.
Absolutely. Everything's 2020.
And I do believe that Final Fantasy VII is going to come out next year, which will, of course, beat the release date to Kingdom of Hearts 3. So I think that prophecy is going to come through.
Well, hold on. Don't get too ahead of yourself, because the Final Fantasy VII remake isn't the full game. It's not the full Final Fantasy VII. It's actually, they're breaking this up because of money. They're breaking it up. So this first part is only going to be the beginning part of the game.
Okay, well,
so this is releasing in I just had it here, March 3rd, 2020, and it's going to be part 1, I guess. And they haven't said, like, there's no subtitle to the full title that says part 1, but they literally came out today and said they don't know how many parts this is going to be.
That's fucking genius. And this is how I told them they should release Kingdom of Hearts 3, where you release it in parts. And I guess they have 2.9 is out right now. I don't know if you count that as a part of Kingdom of Hearts 3, but that's how you fucking do it. And then each part you release with 3 different collector's editions. You release a physical version as well with 3 different collector's editions on each console. People will buy this. This is genius. They're gonna, if you're buying part 1 of Final Fantasy VII, you're gonna buy part 8 whenever the fuck that releases. There's no way you don't finish it.
Nope, you have to, especially because this remake isn't just a retelling of the story. They even changed the gameplay. It's not your standard turn-based RPG gameplay. It's kind of like they added the Final Fantasy. The new, like, Final Fantasy 15 type gameplay to it. I'm sure it's a little bit different, but it's more of that action RPG, like real time, instead of just going through menus and selecting what attacks you're going to be doing.
When they first announced that new gameplay change, I was in the chat room with Lazy Gaming Guys, and to me, I felt like that was kind of a mistake, because now these players that grew up on this and nostalgia are not really, you shouldn't call it a remake, because it's not. Maybe remastered is now the new word you use for it, but I'm so used to remake being a graphical upgrade with maybe expanded story, but to completely change the gameplay, I don't know why, but I didn't see a lot of people too upset with that, especially the loyalists, so maybe I'm in the minority, but I wouldn't have changed the gameplay that drastically.
Yeah, well, I would say remake is more fitting of a term than if they just kept the gameplay the same, but then they just updated the graphics and gave it that modern feel, then I would say that would be more of a remaster than a remake. Remake sounds more like a correct term to me, because they're actually remaking the whole game. Like, nothing's the same besides the story. Like, the graphics are modern, the gameplay is modern. So all of that makes it a remake to me.
Is that going to be one that you play at all? I know you're more of a Final Fantasy VIII guy, since, as you mentioned, that's one of the ones the only one you finished. But are you going to be buying Final Fantasy VII Part 1 yet?
I don't think I'm going to get that when it comes out, just because of the fact that they don't know how many parts this thing is going to be. I would rather just wait, especially since this is going to come out before the new consoles come out. So I'm assuming by 2021 or maybe 2022, if it's only going to be a 2-parter, they might just release both parts at the same time, like put them all together. And then if you're the type of person that already had part 1, they just give you part 2 separately. So I'm going to wait it out, because, I mean, it's Final Fantasy VII. This thing's been out for forever. The story's already known. I know the story. I never played the fucking game. So I'll just wait. But it does look really good. The graphics look good. I could tell that they really put their heart into it when it comes to trying to retell the story.
They are absolutely putting in some effort with that release, and they're going to benefit greatly from it. Let's go into our final portion of our E3 coverage, which is a huge chunk of it, and that is Nintendo.
Yes. So basically, they came out and they didn't do one of those huge conferences. They weren't even in LA. They just did their normal Nintendo Online Direct, which is smart because it saves money. You don't have to be at the actual convention, and it's instant. There's no mess ups because you can retape everything. You don't have that live hiccups.
Those are the best, though.
Yeah, but for the people that are watching it live, it's like, Jesus Christ. We don't need to see you drumming on a fucking Wii drum or doing some crazy ass Just Dance shit. We want the real games, and that's what they delivered. And the first thing that we got here, we're gonna get to some little small bits. No More Heroes 3 is in development for 2020.
I almost feel like if we didn't have Nintendo and the Switch, there would be no More Heroes 3. I think 2 even was only on the Switch as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it came out on any other console. So you might be right on that. If it wasn't for Nintendo, it's kind of like Bayonetta. If it wasn't for Nintendo, shit wouldn't exist.
Yeah, I know they had shopped around Bayonetta 2 for sure to Microsoft and then to some of the other publishers, but Nintendo's the one that said, yeah, we'll help out with that release. And because of that, eventually I believe they released that combo pack. I'm thinking of 3, I'm sorry. So Bayonetta, they released that combo pack and that release on the Xbox One or the 360. It's been a few years. I don't remember that, but they're kind of like that home for a lot of indie publishers.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because we need more games that are just that are more out there. We don't just need these games that are always the same. We don't need the same shooters. We don't need the same beat 'em ups. So I appreciate Nintendo picking up these games. I really wish Microsoft would have had the brains to have gotten Bayonetta or at least try to publish it. I'm glad that Nintendo did.
And that doesn't mean that the big hitters are not getting any updates. They were very clear in saying that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is getting more content through DLC. We'll save the big hitter as the second one, but Dragon Quest's Hero is one of the downloadable fighters that will be hitting the Switch, and that is set for this year, right?
Yeah, this summer. Let me see where the release date is, but it's definitely coming out this summer. I know nothing about Dragon Quest. I know this is huge in Japan. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised that they added this into the game. I don't know the popularity of Dragon Quest over here in the West. So it was really weird to me when I heard it. I was kind of just like, okay, especially since he doesn't have a name or he or she doesn't have a name. Mm-hmm. It's just Hero. It's like there's some other characters they could have went with instead of this one.
That's true, but that doesn't mean this is always that misconception where it doesn't mean that, oh, well, because we got Hero, we don't get Waluigi. And people think that that's the way it works. And I remember Sakurai was like, no, we have a list of like, these are the actual viable characters we can use based on licensing, based on actual usability in our game. And a lot of people were saying, well, great, another sword fighter. And it's like, whatever, man. Like, it's a fucking fighter. It's the closest you'll get to Goku in Super Smash Brothers because it's that same fucking art style. You're there.
Yeah. I'm pretty. I could be wrong. Don't fact check me on, or don't at me if I am. Akira Toriyama. I'm pretty sure he did some of the artwork for Dragon Quest.
He did, absolutely. Yeah. He did a lot of the character designs.
So definitely, if you like Goku, you gotta go out, pay for that DLC, get Hero, and use them too. Don't just buy them and not use them, because they look at those metrics too to see if people are actually using these characters.
And I'll give you the honor of revealing the other big DLC character.
Everybody, if you haven't been paying attention, maybe Dan hasn't, because he's got a lot going on his plate. But Microsoft and Nintendo have been working a lot together. They're doing the cross-play thing with Minecraft and Fortnite, and they're strengthening that relationship again. Microsoft originally bought Rare way back, probably over 10 years ago, and they haven't been doing shit with Banjo and Kazooie. So they said, hey, fucking Nintendo, hey, throw them in Smash Brothers. And Nintendo said, abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah, that trailer. I love that there was that interaction between Diddy and Banjo-Kazooie, because Diddy used to wear that Rare hat on his head, and even though he's really a Nintendo character now, and I don't know how that worked out with their deal and contracts, but it was kind of a neat nod to have those two working together as they fought these other Nintendo characters.
Yeah, Rare pretty much brought Donkey Kong Diddy Kong, all of that stuff to life. I mean, they were the ones that were making the Donkey Kong Country games on Super Nintendo, the incredible Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing, one of my favorites.
Yes.
My favorite kart racing game.
I like it more than N64 Mario Kart, but Double Dash is still like I have so many fond memories of that because
I'm terrible at Double Dash, so I'm not gonna go there. But yeah, it was just a nice little trailer how they put it together, having all the rare characters pretty much being hyped, seeing Banjo-Kazooie back on Nintendo.
Pretty amazing. And do you think that obviously it's just a character one-off deal, but Microsoft and Nintendo working so well together, could this lead to a future revival of the Banjo-Kazooie games, maybe on a multi-platform release?
That would be dope. I would hope so. And because how I see Microsoft is moving right now, they're not moving in the fashion that is you must buy our Xbox, you must buy our hardware. They're just about making you pay them money. So if I wouldn't be surprised if they could get Game Pass on Nintendo Switch, that they would do something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do say, hey, we're going to come out and do a Banjo-Kazooie game, that they don't do Xbox, PC, Switch. And I would love them for that. I'm all about gamers. I don't care about as much as I love Microsoft and I own an Xbox and I'm more of a Microsoft Xbox fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about gamers getting good games. So I would love for them to do something like that.
My prediction was that we were going to see Halo as a playable character. And people were saying, well, no, that's on an M-rated title. And I said, well, fucking Bayonetta. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, Solid Snake.
That's absolutely, yeah. Do you obviously Banjo-Kazooie fits better, I guess, in this mold. Do you think this is the only Microsoft character we're going to see for now, at least in this Smash Brothers game?
Yeah, I can't imagine Microsoft passing them anything else. I'm sitting here trying to think. I don't think Master Chief would work. It would be a little bit too similar to Solid Snake, and I don't know. I wouldn't want Master Chief to be in, but maybe they could do something like Conquer, because I mean that was a rare game. That was a rare game. That was on N64. I mean, just come back full circle. I mean, shit, that's way more M-rated than fucking Master Chief.
Oh yeah.
So I would throw him in there, fucking throw the poop monster in there and ham it up.
See, I was going to say a sober Conquer, but I guess he was hungover and that Conquer's bad for that.
You got to do a special move where you like drink something and it powers up his moves.
What a couple of these DLC releases, we're of course getting amiibo figures releasing to go along with not just these DLC characters, which I'm sure are going to get their own later on, but Nintendo went ahead and gave solid release dates, including live pre-orders through retailers like Best Buy. A huge thanks to Bobby, Mr. Funkmeebo Hunter himself, who called me at the store and said, hey, these characters are now available through Best Buy. They're live. Go, go, go. And specifically pointing out that Ivysaur, the one of the best Pokemon of all time, the evolution to the greatest Pokemon of all time, was available as an amiibo pre-order, which had a release date on September 20th, along with a couple of other characters.
Yeah, so on September 20th, we got Snake, Ivysaur, and Squirtle. I mean, who gives a fuck about those two? Ivysaur, obviously. Like, I mean, Squirtle's trash. I Solid Snake, I mess with Snake, but Squirtle, get him out of here.
Jeez. I'm neutral to Squirtle, but I like him because it's not Charmander.
Yeah, Charmander is absolute trash, but I'm not a fan of Squirtle either. I like Blastoise though, but Squirtle, Are amiibos still flying off the shelves like back when the Wii U came out?
That's a great question, and I have no idea. And by the urgency of Bobby telling me, I'm assuming yes, because he's on top of this shit. He's collecting all of them. Yeah. So I'm guessing that it is still, at least some of the figures are potentially going to be more difficult to get than others, because honestly, as much as I love Bulbasaur and as much as his popularity is growing, do you really think they're going to keep Ivysaur in print for that long?
No, and
Right.
and that was one of my things was I wonder if it's a supply thing why these sell out, or if it's a demand thing. I would really want to know where this is going, because I know when it came out, they even upped their profits, saying that we're going to get more money because we're selling these amiibos, and I haven't really heard too much hype about them ever since the Switch released.
Yeah, I haven't either, and I'm guessing that the amiibo collectors are still there. If Bobby's obviously on there and very quick to pre-order these guys. Oh, I also Scott from Lazy Gaming Guys. I think he's a more casual collector of the amiibo, but there are several that he's had trouble catching or getting, and I know he pre-ordered a couple of these already. So even your casual amiibo collectors, I think, are still very interested in at least collecting these figurines, if anything, because I don't think they've supported them as strongly on the DLC side.
Yeah, so if you're not interested in Snake, Ivysaur, and Squirtle, in November, they're coming out with amiibos for Incineroar, Simon, and Chrom, also followed by Dark Samus and Richter in 2020.
Fucking Dark Samus, that might be one I get.
Yeah, that sounds... I like the look of Dark Samus in the games. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big Castlevania guy, and I'm pretty sure that's what Richter's from.
Yeah,
right?
I believe so. I know, obviously, Simon is, as we call him, Scott Belmont.
Yep.
That was coined by Alex. But yeah, I think they're both Castlevania characters, and I do like that they're doing those character swap amiibos as well. Like, not just the palette swap, but if there's an actual different costume and really a different character, why not have its own figurine?
Definitely. I mean, if these things are flying off the shelves, they must be, because they keep making them. This is money, more money for Nintendo, and they're racking it up.
One property that I keep seeing online, I didn't know that the fan base was still this rabid, and they've been asking for this new game every single year, and that seems to be sort of the strategy of Nintendo, is you kind of hammer them with, we want another Metroid, we want another Star Fox for years, and then eventually they'll go, all right, here you go. And the one that people were asking every year was, no Animal Crossing? No Animal Crossing? And we've known about this new game, but the information that we're getting now is that Animal Crossing New Horizon got delayed until March 20th of next year, which isn't a massive thing. I think a lot of these players are willing to wait, and I think March is a great window for Nintendo in general, right in that spring area where it leads eventually into some of those summer sales, which is the slower period, but you want to release before summer hits. And I think because of that, Animal Crossing is going to have a great window.
Yeah, I would say that that's actually a perfect window for this type of game. It's a game that you play for a long time. So it's not something that, you need your online access. You got to get as soon as it comes out, and, before the player base dwindles. It's something that you're just going to play. I mean, there's still people playing Animal Crossing DS. So
right.
This is going to be a game that if you want it at its best, then you're definitely it's definitely worth waiting for.
Some of the new information coming out of Animal Crossing, because you can't delay a game and just leave it at that. They actually gave us a little bit on what you can do in New Horizon, which includes collecting resources that you then craft from creature comforts to handy tools. So you can do a lot more with what you collect as opposed to just filling out your album. And you could also use these tools to decorate your home, and that's huge with Animal Crossing fans. They love getting that wallpaper. They like getting that new furniture. And that's all a part of like the rarity even of some of these items that plays into that replayability of Animal Crossing.
I completely understand why people love this game. This is not a game for me at all.
Yeah, same.
But I get it. I know this has a huge female fan base. Women, they love Animal Crossing. They love those types of games like The Sims. So I'm sure this is going to sell like gangbusters for Nintendo for sure.
We had a bit of a surprise announcement as well, didn't we?
Breath of the fucking Wild 2.
Insane.
That
Insane.
was crazy.
And I understand why, because obviously it was a massive hit. Many people calling it already the greatest Zelda of all time. They said, Ocarina of Time, you had your time. But now it's about Breath of the Wild. I sold the shit out of the poster at the comic book shop, the art book even, fully knowing that they carry this shit at GameStop and bookstores and online, of course. And people were talking about Breath of the Wild. I'm a comic book shop, and people were talking about this game. Well, you have the assets as Nintendo. You have all of the pre-rendered characters, these massive lands and worlds. Why not just Majora Mask this shit?
This is intelligent. This is galaxy brain level shit right here. As you said, they already have the engine. They already have the graphics, everything that they need. Just make another game. Simple as that. I don't expect this coming out until probably 2021. This is just smart. I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say it's not going to be called Breath of the Wild 2, because I don't think they've ever put a 2 at the end of any like main title Zelda game.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say definitely look forward to them changing the name around, but it looked great. They even had Princess Link and Zelda in the
that's right,
the dungeon there on the trailer. So
Zelda's the boy. Hashtag Zelda is the boy. Wasn't there a Zelda 2? But that might have been the only one.
Yeah. That was what the NES one.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. And from then on, they always add the subtitle. They just change the subtitle around. I mean, realistically, Majora's Mask was pretty much like 2, Ocarina of Time 2, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't like a breath in the title somewhere just because of branding, but honestly, they don't need it. It's Legend of Zelda. People know what it is. And the fact that they had these two characters as together in a dungeon, people were speculating that maybe this means a full-on co-op mode, offline or online, and maybe even a Resident Evil 5 style type of game where you control two characters at once, which we've seen in previous Zelda titles. I think it was the 3DS one where Princess Link was controlling a statue and then you would kind of command her to open up different things. I think it was a 3DS.
That sounds familiar. I wouldn't know because I didn't play any of the 3DS Zelda games. That would be cool, especially since, you know, you could split the controller on the Switch, so you can hand that off to somebody and they could play with you. Mm-hmm. That would sound like something they would do, especially since they had that little small co-op bit with the Super Mario game that came out, Super Mario Odyssey.
Right.
So that's something that they could easily add in and throw in there. But if they're sticking with the continuity of Breath of the Wild, I would just expect a big, expansive Zelda game, just like Breath of the Wild. Maybe add some more RPG elements, have plenty, but they could add some more, and just be in for a wild ride. It's going to be a long one.
Did you mess around at all with Breath of the Wild yourself?
I don't own a Switch. I did play a little bit of it on my friend's Switch, but it definitely seemed like it was a really good game. If I am going to get a Switch, I'm in that boat with you. I know you were trying to hold off seeing if they were going to redesign it and come out with that Switch Pro or something.
Yeah, I thought for sure that was going to be here.
Hey, I wasn't expecting anything to happen at E3 because they kind of just announce those when they do them. But 2020, I mean, everybody's coming out with new stuff 2020. Why not Nintendo?
That's true. And we have a final bit of E3 coverage here, which you suggested, and it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
Since we've had this, and I can obviously...
I've missed these on the podcast.
Are you going to do it with me, or I don't have Papa Kelly, so one of us has to do it. All right.
I'm down.
All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Nerd Rage Reaction! The return. What are people upset about? What is happening? Why are people mad at new content, new announcements, specifically Nintendo?
So last week, they did their Pokemon Direct and unleashed a slew of news for Pokemon Sword and Shield. And then they just dropped a little tidbit this week at E3 and said, "Oh yeah, so all those old Pokemon that you've been collecting on those other games and putting them up on the cloud, thinking that you're going to transfer them over into Sword and Shield, yeah, nah, it's not working out like that."
Yeah, that's something that that limits a lot of players on their favorite Pokemon and into whatever is just available on this game. But these Pokemon games are getting much bigger every single year because of these new generations. Have they given us an official answer as to why we're not getting that full access, at least right now, for these Pokemon games?
Yeah, so basically, the one of the directors of the Pokemon, they came out and basically said, "Look, there's over 800 Pokemon, and we're fully rendering these things on the Switch in these incredible graphics. And for us, that it was just too much work. So they shrunk down the amount of Pokemon that are going to be on this game, so you can have a nice, tight, cohesive game." And unfortunately, at launch, they didn't really say that this will stay like this the entire lifetime of Pokemon Sword and Shield. But at least for sure, we know at launch they're not going to have all 800 plus Pokemon in the game.
I feel like it's also a smarter move so that the new Pokemon that they do introduce in this game have a chance to really blossom with players, to where you can have some of your new favorites in the game without immediately importing the classics, right? So that you can have a moment to actually finish the game with this new generation of Pokemon.
And I agree with that that thought process. Every time these Pokemon games come out, we have the older crowd, people are our age, maybe a little bit younger than us, pretty much living on nostalgia, saying these Pokemon are the best Pokemon, these Pokemon designs are trash. And, you know, they pick their one or two that they like, but as soon as they can, they put their Pokemon in and they're off to the races. Like, for example, we had Sun and Moon a couple years ago, and how many people like those brand new Pokemon that were in there? Because they had all the nostalgia that we needed from Pokemon Go. They had to throw in all those old Generation 1 Pokemon, give them a couple of new sprites, you know, oh, this one has a longer neck. So they did all that. And now they're like, well, we need new designs. We want people to love these new designs. And it'll take too much work for us to put every single old Pokemon back in here. So you're going to love these new Pokemon, hopefully.
And that's the thing. Each one of these Pokemon, as they reveal them, is another bit of merchandise that they can sell from now until, you know, the end of the lifespan of Pokemon in general. Because every single Pokemon is someone's favorite out there. So you got to give that time, though, to really settle in with these players.
And so far, I like the designs that they've shown of these new Pokemon. So to me, it seems like the best bet. Hopefully, maybe down the line, they can patch in and come and patch the game and add some Pokemon every once in a while. Maybe they might not get all 800, but maybe they can get up to about 4 or 5.
Yeah, kind of go with that Pokemon Go model of now you can get Gen 2 or Gen 3 and kind of go from there.
Yeah, and one thing I did read, I don't know if this was known or if you knew about this, but they have these wild land areas where it'll be like you could run around with your friends or random people that are playing, kind of like in its own little tight server, and you'll be able to like battle random online people or your friends, trade with them, swap items and stuff like that. So they're doing a lot of new stuff in this Pokemon Sword and Shield that they never did in the old Pokemon because they didn't have the power. They never were on a home console, and now they're on a handheld home console.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going all out, and I like it.
Exactly, and we saw evidence of this in Sun and Moon because people found that the character models in Sun and Moon were actually a part of a much larger file that had huge textures to these Pokemon that they're like, all right, that's kind of interesting that they went through this heavy rendering process, but were kind of scaled down when it came out on the 3DS. And I believe a lot of these same models are being used in Sword and Shield, but now in that full, 1080p format with these new games. So it's kind of like they were working ahead a little bit, at least on some of the designs.
And work smarter, not harder.
That's right. The last thing I do want to say about the new Pokemon games, which Papa Kelly and I didn't really cover too much, is I saw some complaints about it because we're in that Nerd Rage reaction portion of it. Might as well throw this in, that these Pokemon, like when they showed the sheep, which is very popular. There's a ton of artwork and people love this design. But there were those people saying, well, so the new Pokemon is just a sheep? The new Pokemon is just a raven? And it's like every time they release a design that's, oh, well, that's just a chandelier. That's just an ice cream cone. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? What do you want? Do you want organic Pokemon? Exactly. Pidgey's a fucking bird.
It's just a fucking bird.
So whenever they go with the organic route, no one's happy. And when they try to do something neat with like mechanics or objects that are possessed by fucking ghosts, nope, not good enough either.
I mean, I like what they're doing. I mean, they've had some really good designs. I like the sheep, Mimikyu from Sun and Moon, incredible, brilliant. Even the backstory, like coming up with that. Whoever did that, they need a raise. They need to have them as like head designer or something.
Yeah,
but they're coming out with some really cool designs. So I don't see the hate. These people, you can't please them, whatever you do.
Exactly right. So as we round off E3 2019, were there any final thoughts you wanted to have on E3 as a whole this year?
Pretty much the consensus was 2020. And I can see why Sony bowed out and didn't come in and do a conference, because they probably didn't have much to show. Why spend millions of dollars showing up and basically announcing a whole bunch of third-party games, because that's pretty much what Microsoft did. So I don't blame them for bowing out, especially when they're going to come back next year with a blitz of stuff. They're going to announce, they're going to show the new PS5. They're going to blaze out and show all these new games that are going to come out. So this year was just a bunch of 2020. I'm hyped for 2020 and buy Borderlands 3. That comes out this year.
We got a Borderlands fan. Can people play with you if it's an online game, right?
Yeah, it's an online co-op game, so definitely you can play with me. If you want to contact me or play with me on Xbox, my gamer tag is MacDaMurderer. Also, that is my Twitter handle, @MacDaMurderer.
There you go. There's your ats. I was going to say give them to the Brocat Core, but you've got them there. There's going to be links in the description of today's episode on where you can contact Macio on Twitter. And as he said, same exact @ or handle for Xbox. So you can play with him when Borderlands 3 releases. And of course, inevitably Halo Infinite, because he will have Project Scorpio on day one, am I guessing?
Project Scarlet day one.
Scarlet,
for sure.
All right.
I didn't get the Xbox One day one because there was a bunch of 360 games that I was still getting through. But this time around, absolutely getting it day one.
And there you go, everyone. So, Macio, huge thanks again for coming on for this segment of our E3 2019 coverage.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
Let's head back into the rest of today's episode with Emperor Palpa Kelly. In the meantime, say bye to the Brocat Core, Macio.
See you later, Broquettes. Take care.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that E3 special with Daniel and Macio and not Kelly, because she don't know what she's talking about.
I hardly know. But like, he's way more knowledgeable on this stuff than you and I combined, because he is playing a lot of these games, and Parenthood does not allow for any of that.
Oof.
But even before then, he definitely knows way more about this stuff than I do. So thankfully he was able to come on and help out with that segment so that the Broquettes can enjoy that wealth of knowledge. As we said earlier, let's head into our Patreon shoutouts of the week.
This week we have 5 shoutouts. The first one goes out to Scott, whose Twitter handle is @LazyGamingGuys or @PandaAnime.
He pointed out on the Lazy Gaming Guys' Discord that he passed the spot at Epcot where it took Julian an hour to finish his tiny beer near Canada and England. How many ounces are those?
The really tiny ones?
The regular ones you buy, yeah. The
like
ones that are, they're in
the food and wine?
Yeah.
It's 6 ounces.
It took him over an hour to finish a little 6-ounce beer.
An ounce every 10 minutes.
Isn't that slow?
That's very slow. We do have a quote here from Scott, though. Quote, I hear they are putting a plaque in his honor. They say if you listen close, you can still hear him sipping it to this day, end quote. He's a ghost story now. I guess he drowned in the lagoon? I don't know.
He drowned in his 6 ounces of beer. he alcohol poisoning.
Oh, okay.
He's still drunk to this day. Next shout out goes out to Jose on Instagram at Kingdom T-shirt.
Jose posted a video of a glitter bomb versus a package thief.
Have you guys seen these before? Have you seen them?
I feel like I've seen some of them.
They'll have their security camera up. They'll see the guy in there. But what they'll do is they'll install a camera inside the stolen box. And as soon as the thief opens it, which is usually in their car, that's when the thing blows up with glitter and you see their reaction. So one, glitter is tiny glass.
Yeah.
And it gets in your eye, you're fucked. So good on, fuck them. Right? But two, you get to see their reaction and it gets all over their fucking car. Most of them end up getting upset and just throwing the shit out, but it's just amazing to see the reactions on these. So that's a pretty big problem these days with so many people ordering online. It's another reason I like to get my shit in store.
I've had 2 packages stolen, by the UPS man. It doesn't even make it to my house.
Is it the UPS guy or is it a neighbor?
No, it's the UPS man because they never get delivered. I follow it, right? To see where it is. And it'll be out for delivery, and then it'll never get to my house. So it's that UPS man. His wife likes Ulta. He knows.
Next shout out this week goes out to at @Innsmouth_Tide.
We have some very exciting news for him, but quote, rare personal post. Baby 2 is here and perfect. Mom and kiddo are doing great, end quote.
A lot of babies being born from Broquettes.
Yeah.
We had Kyle Inge as well, who's helped out with a podcast over the past couple of years. He had a young son as well this past week, but Innsmouth_Tide has baby number 2, and it's great to hear that baby's doing well, that mom's doing well. It sounds like there weren't complications, which is always a huge worry. You saw how we were both fucking nervous when little Leo was born. And thankfully, Innsmouth is doing okay with this new baby. So congratulations to the latest addition to the Broquette core family.
Yes, it's absolutely amazing. Enjoy every moment that you can. I don't know what it's like with a second baby. I may never find out what it's like. But one is good. One is great for me. But, I hear your heart just grows and you just love them just as much as you love the one that you already have, which baffles my mind. But congratulations.
Next shout out goes out to Elizabeth on Twitter at EPLifts.
Elizabeth said, quote, the husband's in Metropolis. Meanwhile, the intrepid Lois Lane is tied to her computer writing research papers. I was jealous until I realized I am Lois Lane in this story. And she's a badass, end quote.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Write those research papers.
I especially liked when we were just watching Superman the Animated Series, 3-part crossover with Batman and Superman, Lois Lane hooking up with Batman.
Hell yeah.
Amazing. And that's when Batman was saying, it's funny, I think he says it's ironic, that Lois likes Bruce Wayne and doesn't like Batman, but doesn't like Clark Kent, but likes Superman.
Yeah. And he's like, if only we could I don't know, mix it up or something. And
yeah, he did say something like that.
Superman's like, yeah.
Well, we can mix it up, just you and I.
let me just try on your clothes. Superman, stop being weird.
She did end up, Elizabeth ended up posting on Twitter pictures of her husband in front of that infamous Superman statue in Metropolis, Illinois.
That's awesome.
Where everyone poses with their fists on their hips.
I didn't even know Metropolis, Illinois was a thing.
I believe that's the one that had changed their name to Metropolis. I know in the comic shop we had a vintage newspaper. I say vintage, but I think it's from the 70s, where they had a commemorative Metropolis newspaper for the year that they ended up changing their name. And there was a lot of Superman stuff in that newspaper. And I remember we had that. We've since sold it, but I think that's the same one. And they are very proud of the fact that they are named after a city that is huge in obviously
Right.
comic book lore.
I hope there's no Gotham, USA, because that would just be so much crime.
Watch, it's like the lowest crime rate though.
Probably.
Final shout out this week goes out to Joshua T at Drips1963.
Thank you so much, Joshua, for your continued support of the show.
If you too would like your shout out, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke. You can also go to thereasonsimbroke.com. You will find the link to our Patreon at the bottom of the page. And for just $1 a month, equals out to $1.25 an episode. That's right, 25 cents an episode. You get your shout out, not just for 1 month, every single month that you back us.
But of course, the best thing you can do is reach out to us on Twitter. Talk to us. You guys are who we do the show for, right? We love communicating with you on Twitter, on Discord. Let your friends know about us. That really helps the show as well.
And in case you want to represent the Brocat Core out and about when you're playing Pokemon Go, do the kids still play that?
I think they do.
You
There's
can
Pokemon Sleep coming out.
You can wear The Reasons I'm Broke as you play Pokemon Sleep. Head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com, click on merch, and we've just added, as inspired by Palpa Kelly,
Me?
the Saga of the Leaf Abs t-shirt. I'm like, fucking Swamp Thing's about to get canceled. Better get this idea out there quick. Like, I'd been mulling it, and I said, shit, better fucking just get it out there before the fucking 10 episodes are done. And it is out there. It is up. Our Leaf Abs t-shirt.
I have your new idea for the next shirt.
I can start working on it. What is it?
You need to put like fake gangster chains.
I don't know if they'll allow that in the... I'm not talking about the design, but as far as like, I don't know if the ink goes up that high on TeePublic.
Never mind, because that way we could be like, Brocat Core, yo.
What's that? That's not an ongoing joke. That's just something random.
It is now.
But get your Leaf Abs shirt, as inspired by the Emperor herself.
So because of the E3 segment we had, there will be no comic book highlight this week. Aww.
There's a ton of content already. Tons of content. And next week we have a massive comic book podcast.
Yes.
Massive comic book podcast that I think you all enjoy. Well, the comic people will, for sure.
So, with the majority of the show out of the way, we can move into my favorite segment, which is the Brocat Block. That's what happened with Daniel and I this week.
So in the Brocat Block, we got a couple of questions from listeners. The first one comes from Manu at Man United. I guess it would be Man United 0710, who asked, quote, I don't know if you've answered this already, but now that the DC Universe app has expanded its comics section, which books on the platform do you feel are a must-read? End quote.
You're going to have better insight into this than I will. I can't say that I know exactly everything that's on the app. They have
basically everything up to
vowels,
a year
right?
ago. Yeah, up to a year, because they give you that year buffer.
Right.
So 2017 and back, or 2018 and back till the beginning. So they have almost everything.
Of time.
Yeah.
I feel like you really need to read Court of Owls if you're looking for something recent.
Recent-ish. That came out in 2011. But yeah, it's a must-read.
Little Gotham.
It's gotta be. Little Batman, Little Gotham for all ages.
Yes,
absolutely.
That one's great. That'd be fun to watch with your kid, right? And you can flip through it on the TV and they can see it.
I always recommend that to parents because it is a kid's story. It's Batman. It's got Ra's al Ghul, the Joker, everyone. And it's an amazing story. Great art by Dustin Nguyen. But whenever they flip through it, they think the water coloring is too complex for their kids. So they'll go with something like Tiny Titans, which is like a, crayon style.
No, I don't like Tiny Titans.
And I do sell Low Gotham when possible, but most parents end up going with the more traditional comic look.
Challenge your child.
I agree. I'm with you.
Let them see those complex colors. Now I'm angry.
We have answered similar questions to this, which is basically like, what are your favorite comic stories? You can sort of work that into this because those are available, including Superman Red Sun. You can read all 3 issues right now on DC Universe, and it is a must read, especially before they do that animated movie. You have to check out the story. And it was kind of an odd release because while Mark Miller stayed on as the writer throughout the whole thing, they had to change artists, I believe by issue 3, might be issue 2. And it is noticeable, but the story does not suffer at all. And the pickup artist does do an amazing job in continuing that style. So Red Sun is absolutely one you must read before you die. Even if you don't have DC Universe, buy the trade paperback. You mentioned the Court of Owls, Heart of Hush, which is the sequel to Batman Hush. If you're going to read Heart of Hush, you might as well read Batman Hush, which is also awesome. Consistently on the top sellers, artwork by Jim Lee, who of course worked on the 90s X-Men. And Heart of Hush is, once again, Dustin Nguyen, who worked on Batman Low Gotham. And it's also written by Paul Dini, who worked on Batman the Animated Series, which, fun fact, I think it's like the final page or two of Heart of Hush is the technical first appearance of the Gotham City Sirens.
Oh, Gotham City Sirens was a great one too. If those are out there, read that series. What was the other one that started our podcasting journey because we were reading it? Streets of Gotham.
That's a great one.
Yep, also with Dustin Nguyen.
Go back to Gotham City Sirens.
Yeah.
What is that? What's that team consist of?
Oh man, it's Harley, Catwoman, and Poison Ivy. Boom. That's all you need. Like, it could just be them sitting around. Brilliant.
And it's Paul Dini writing in new characters like the Carpenter. Although she was on before Gotham City Sirens, but she really has a nice role in this, where her job is to build hideouts for the villains.
Yes.
So Paul answered the question of, how do these hideouts, themed hideouts, keep popping up? Like, is it Joker doing this?
Stuff,
but it's all the Carpenter, and she's hilarious. So there's a lot in there that's great for expanding that lore. And it's Paul Dini. You know it's going to be fucking good. And I know that the writing did change partway through, but as a block of comics, it's an amazing run. I think it's 30-something issues. Very much worth reading. And the only reason it ended is because it was one of those titles that got cut when they were launching the New 52. You had also said Streets of Gotham, which is not Paul Dini. It might have been Paul Dini, but Dustin Nguyen worked on this series. But that was more street level type of stories as well as superheroes. Not quite Gotham Central, but there were a lot of stories in there that were like Batman, Catwoman romances. Yes. If you're enjoying the Tom King run, read Gotham City Sirens, read Streets of Gotham, read Batman Hush, read Heart of Hush. That's all Catwoman Batman love.
I'm so happy. There needs to be more Batman Catwoman love in the world.
And the one that I'll end on, because I can go on recommending books, but Jeff Johns' 9-year run of Green Lantern, from beginning to end, read all of it. If you really want to, you can skip Brightest Day, because that was the way that they brought back a lot of dead characters or retconned some things. But with the rest of it around Brightest Day, it's must read for not just Green Lantern fans. It will make you a Green Lantern fan by the time you're done reading it.
Like you said, we could go on and on with all of our favorites. Those are just a few of them. Yes, mostly Batman stories, because really, what else do you need? That's it. That's all you need.
We have a SpeakPipe message this week as well from Twitter user at DCUFanFam.
Hey, Reasons I'm Broke. Which lesser-known character in the DC universe would you like to see have a movie in the DCEU?
Thank you so much. If you too want to be heard on the podcast, just like DCU Fan Fam, you can head over to speakpipe.com. We have a link in the description of the show notes, and you can leave us a message as well. We'll play it right here on the show.
Speakpipe.com/thereasonsI'mbroke. Do you have an answer, Paul Kelli?
Maybe.
In the DC Extended Universe.
Can I say... Can I say Darkseid? Because he should have been in the movie.
That'll make it up, Warner Brothers. But just don't have like James Gunn on there.
No. I got to think for a minute. You go with yours. I got to think. Lesser known? How lesser known are we talking?
Well, I mean, I think people might say someone like Booster Gold or Blue Beetle are lesser known.
Oh, okay.
Because I could go like my go-to, because I just want to see more of these characters, and it's never going to happen, but I'd give Ra's al Ghul like a solo movie with the Al Ghuls, or the Raising of Damian Wayne, even like that story, that little comic arc with the Man-Bats. Because I was going to say Man-Bat, but I'm like, well, if I say Ra's, I could have the Man-Bats in there. So that'll work. Like I'd cheat my way there.
all the things I want.
And I know Ra's al Ghul isn't necessarily lesser known, but compared to the other Batman villains, most people don't really know.
Ra's al Ghul.
I'd even say Sinestro is on that same level as Ra's al
Really?
Ghul as far as knowability,
Really?
I would guess. And I definitely would like to see like that New 52 run of Green Lantern where he is making it's a buddy cop movie with Hal and Sinestro though. And he says, if you want to be a Green Lantern, you're going to use the ring that I make for you. I'm copying my ring essentially. And it's got restrictions. So good luck trying to use it against me. Pretty amazing.
You know who I think would be pretty cool is Dr. Fate.
Would you use the same type of story that you had in Young Justice maybe? Or would you just have it focused on him?
I don't remember what he was in Young Justice, so no.
Well, they were struggling with the different avatars of someone else taking over as,
right.
I think it was Beast Boy or I don't know, one of these guys.
Yeah, I guess. I just think he's an interesting concept, right? Because you have this guy who's trying to save the world, and then this helmet's like, "Heh, sucker!" Like, took over your body now, and he's like an evil helmet. Etrigan would also be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think Etrigan would be good.
Except he rhymes, and I really don't like that he rhymes.
I know we got a slight TV series in the past, but even like an Amethyst, a reworked Amethyst.
Oh
I think
man,
would be really
Amethyst would be
interesting.
great. That would make for. I mean, I'd make it a rom-com, right? But Amethyst would be good.
Is it too obvious to say Swamp Thing? Like, if you're not going to do the TV show, let's get a movie featuring Animal Man. Hey, how about that? Do an Animal Man instead, and have Swamp Thing cameo in it.
Yeah,
and
the
then
red,
you
the
you
red
spin
and the
it off
green
into
and
Swamp Thing. There
and
you go.
the rot. Yeah, that'd be spooky. Get where's James Wan? Get him on there. Make it a horror.
He was saying he doesn't understand why it was canceled, Swamp Thing, and I'm like, James, let me show you these tax documents.
look at these dollars spent, and he's like, have some of my 1 billion.
He was like, oh, is that all? Come on, James. If you really care about Swamp Thing, why don't you pay for fucking season 2?
Right? Come on, James Wan.
Like, we're just now it's his job to fucking do it, to pay for it.
It's his job to
fix the
finance
mistake.
it.
I know Booster Gold was in the works as well.
No,
Maybe
I don't.
we're already getting Mr. Miracle.
Never
with
liked Booster Gold. The
New
Wonder
Gods.
Twins would be cool.
Maybe the Wonder Twins. That's super lesser known for sure. If you wanted to go indie, like that Snagglepuss story was amazing.
Oh, that was
counts
pretty
as
good.
DC, right? You can put that in the DC Extended Universe somehow.
Sandman
That'd be good too. That has been in the works for years, but they just can't get it off the ground.
and Lucifer.
And Swamp Thing, because they're all in the same.
No.
No Swamp Thing.
No, because somebody will screw up the tax dollars again.
Or mess up and not have leaf abs.
Yes, who would not want leaf abs?
Do you like Swamp Thing? As long as he has leaf abs, can he have that long hair and beard like in Justice League Dark?
I guess.
Do they cancel each other out? Is he just Swamp Thing?
Then he's just Swamp Thing.
Yeah, thank you so much for that speak pipe message. We'll take those every week. So everyone feel free to be heard on the podcast and use that link to send us a voicemail with the phone in your fucking pocket. You can record it right there and send it right off.
What if we got a drunk message? Would you accept that?
It would depend. It would depend on the content. I'm not against drinking, believe me, but it's got to make sense. And what's been going on with your week, though, just to cap off the show?
Busy week, a lot of work, gearing up towards, stuff that we have coming later in the week. But I played a little more Pokemons yesterday, right? So I'm up to Silphco, whatever, where I'm fighting Team Rocket.
Okay,
right?
So that's where you get what do you get at the end?
Lapras, that's all I know.
All right.
That's all I care about. You get Lapras in that building. It's in Lavender Town.
Gotcha.
So I got my choppy guy, punchy guy.
Don't you get the Sylph Scope, and then you can see the ghosts or something in Lavender Town?
Yeah.
All right. So
I already got the Sylph Scope.
Okay. You got
I'm
Choppy
just-
Guy? You were talking about
The punchy guy.
Oh, Hitmonchan.
Yeah, got punchy guy.
The way you want to think about it is Hitmonchan named after Jackie Chan
and Hitmonlee. Yes. So anyway, I got the punchy guy. And then I went and I didn't get that far, right? Because it was like right before bed. And I'm like, I only have 30 minutes till I wither because like 9:30 hits. And then that's it.
You mean an hour ago?
Yeah. You're all lucky that I'm still awake, right? So I go into Silphco. And it's really interesting I've been playing Let's Go Pikachu, by the way, for those of you who don't know. So it's really interesting how they've changed this game and how I feel like I'm discovering new things again. Like I know what's going to happen, right? I've beaten yellow version. I can't tell you how many times, but it's new and it's fun now. So I walk into Silphco and I see a Pokeball over there. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go find out what that is. And then the receptionist is like, hey, kids aren't allowed in here. And I'm like, you bitch. So I walk up to her and she's like, it's dangerous right now, kid. And then you hear, da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. And here comes Blue, right? And he's like, hey, lady. And she's like, oh my God, it's Blue. And like freaking out over him like all the ladies did in the cartoon, in the anime.
Origins or in the actual anime?
No, in the actual anime. Remember, like he was in the car and he had all his babes.
That's right, the
all the time.
cheerleaders, yeah.
Like they were always all over him. So she's like, oh my God, it's Blue. And like he totally
He's 10.
starts. He's older in this. I'm
Is he
10,
though?
so he's got to be older.
11.
So, okay, fine. Maybe 14. Anyway, totally starts fangirling over him, right? And then Blue is like, okay, so here's the plan. Because then Darth Vader Daniel comes in. That's my rival. I'm Palpa Kelli and it's Darth Vader Daniel. So you come in and then you're like, hey, Kelli, we're going to take on Silphco with Blue. And Blue's like, actually, the plan is you're going to take it on and I'm going to run around Kanto. And I'm going to destroy more Team Rocket. And then you're like, yeah. And he's like, and then I'm going to go to the Elite Four and get them to help too. I'm like, you just want to go do your own thing. You don't even give a shit. So then I had to fight him, right? And I won, of course. And now I'm just fighting Silphco. And it's fun. And I got to like floor number 3 and then I went to bed.
Who's your strongest Pokemon right now?
Pikachu.
Pikachu?
Pikachu's grossly overpowered in this game.
Well, you get a perfect IV, Pikachu and
Right.
Eevee, depending on.
But you also get this guy, right, in every city, and you go to the Pokemon Center, and he's like, I'm going to teach your Pikachu a super strong move. And, like, he taught him Zippy Zap, which was his X or Z move or whatever in one of the older games. And it's just like a one-hit knockout for everybody all the time. So I don't ever use Pikachu until all 5 of my other Pokemon are dead. And then I pull him out, and I'm like, okay.
As it should be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You learn a little bit of the
beyond,
challenge.
beyond that, Venusaur is probably my strongest. He's perfect IVs too, because it's one of the ones that they give you.
So all the ones they give you are definitely perfect IV? I thought it was only
think they
Pikachu
are.
and Eevee.
I don't know. He's got like the most IVs. I don't even know what the fuck IVs are. He's got lots of IV because he's Venus. Anyway, but he's pretty strong. And then I'm not liking my Gyarados. He's there, but I'm not feeling him.
Really?
Yeah. And
Well, you're about to get a
I'm
Lapras.
about to get Lapras. I thought about switching him out for a War Turtle and then getting, just having like the 3 starters, right? And Pikachu. And then I was like, nah, Lapras is better. And then I have a Nidorino. Still not feeling him either.
You need that Moonstone.
I have one, but I want to wait until he's level 45 because then he learns Horn Drill or something stupid.
Well, okay. I know Horn Drill, isn't that the one-hit knockout one that never works?
No, maybe it wasn't that. He learns a strong move at 45, so I just need to wait for that forever. And then, who else did I have in my party? Charmeleon. I needed a fire type, and Arcanine is like, in this game. He's really not very good. And then there's one more. Who is it? Tell me. Oh, Kadabra. I do like Kadabra, but he'll never be an Alakazam. Because I can't trade him. Because you won't get the game.
You'll love him just the same.
I will. He's pretty cool. He like floats around behind me like, meow.
You trade it to me, it evolves. I need that back. It's like, no, you traded me your Kadabra. I have no Kadabra to trade you.
No tradesies. Boop, 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 boop.
I have an Alakazam.
You run away and Leo and I never see you again. Just take my Alakazam.
You also had the return. You've been campaigning for this along with everyone else on Netflix.
I campaigned with one tweet and here it happened.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
That's the power of the Palpa Kelli.
It's the Palpa power.
What happened?
Lucifer season 5. And the final season, K5, fine. But still, season 5.
Netflix is like, one more, guys. Like, Jesus, why did we pick this up?
It's doing really well. It's like the second. So Neil Gaiman, he was the creator of Lucifer, yes?
I believe co-creator or creator. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he retweeted something which Tom Ellis, who plays Lucifer, retweeted. So that's how I found it. On the Netflix shows or shows on the networks, right? He created 2 of the top 10 shows right now. So Lucifer is one of the top 10 that's streaming, and then Netflix has something else that he created that's in the top 10. So he's like, oh, look at me. I wish I could go back in time and tell myself I wasn't stupid. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But anyway, Lucifer's doing pretty well. I don't know why they're not continuing it, but that's fine. We're getting a resolution, right? And they know that there's a resolution. So that's fine. And Tom Ellis got married.
Oh,
Lucifer,
nice.
he got married.
Was it to another actor or?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I just know that people wanted to give them gifts and they're like, here's some charities. Please donate.
Gotcha.
And that's what they did.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Really neat.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're getting a final season and
I'm
you're getting
so
a
happy.
resolution to the show.
I don't know. We don't know how many episodes it'll be. I did hear, and I don't know if he was just BSing, right? But Tom Ellis was saying that he preferred the 10 episode as opposed to the 20 for the seasons, because previously there were 22 episodes each.
Gotcha.
And then Netflix took over and it was just 10. But he was saying it allowed the writers to get to the point more quickly rather than having to BS and go around through all these different
Will they,
things.
won't they, that kind of thing.
Right. So, if they come back and they say, here's 10 final episodes, boom. All right, cool. They're going to get to it really quickly. I'm not going to have to spend years watching this because that's how long it takes when you have a child.
Well, one thing I did get to do this week is I got to go to Macio's birthday party. He had a bit of a get-together with a group of friends, and he chose a local escape room for the birthday. And I'm no good at escape rooms. Like, this is my second one I've ever been on, and I've realized that I'm there for moral support more than anything because I'm not good at puzzles. So I'm sitting here like, maybe I'll find something that's useful, and I do a lot of, hey, did you guys do this already? Did you guys see this? And it's not so much solving, but maybe getting someone to like spark an idea, and it's like, all right, I helped. But otherwise, yeah, I'm no good at those things, and sure enough, I was very, very little help, if any.
You and I should go together, just you and me.
So I can do the same with you. Hey, Kelly, did you play with this key yet?
And then I could be like, yes, Daniel. Solving it all.
You'd solve it.
Yeah, I would. I'm great with puzzles.
What's funny, I was being kind of a dick because when the guy came in, I'm like, all right, you guys did well. And, give you the answers like, well, this, you had to do this. And people were like, well, what was the answer to this? And he's like, oh, well, that one's a little more difficult. It's one of the harder ones to find. But if you move all of this stuff from the desk that had pretty much the booklets to like, okay, here's where you store all your shit, or here's where you put the puzzle pieces together. If you moved all this off the table, and you'll see the seam on the table, and it actually unfolds, and there's instructions and stuff in there. They were all like, oh, well, what about this? And I was like, I'm thinking, this is fucking bullshit. And then he started talking about the next clue, and I was like, oh, if you lift off this corner of the carpet over here, this disgusting carpet, you will find more clues on it. Like, I was just being an asshole. And I there was like one upside down tricycle like on the roof, and I was gonna say, oh, well, the next clue is you got to get up on there, and you just tricycle upside down,
if you
and
clear
that opens
the
up this.
cobwebs out of this corner with the Swiffer duster.
It's like, that's how difficult these fucking things. Well, if you flip this table upside down and put this other desk underneath it.
There are some silly things. You guys should have done Hard Knocks. That's what you got to do. That's what I want to do for my birthday one year.
What's the difference between Hard Knocks and any other? I mean, I know you mentioned it before, but is that another escape room thing?
No, it's laser tag.
Oh, well, fuck yeah.
Yeah, so it's super cool. It's, pretty expensive, right? But I did it for a team outing, and you go in and you all pick up like laser guns, but they look like real guns and they function like real guns. So you have to reload them. Different ones that you pick up have different ranges or different amounts that they shoot off. So if you rent it, you go in this room for like an hour, right? You have the opportunity to try out all these different things and see how they work for you. But you have two different rooms. One is a warehouse and one is an office. So you're like rolling around on the floor and hiding under desks and like, like, oh my God, it's so much fun.
I do like laser tags, so maybe that's something we can do, but do they tell you not to run, but you run anyway?
Yeah. Hell yeah. I was like hiding behind barrels. Man, it was so great. So in the warehouse, I was hiding behind the barrels, and then somebody that everybody hated was across from me at the other barrel. So they'd come up and shoot at him, and I'd be like, yeah, and get them. It was, we really need to go. That would be a lot of fun.
I'll check it out. After the escape room, we ended up going to Pio Pio, which is right off, it's in Central Florida. I'd say it's probably down the street from Universal Studios, about 5-10 minutes from there. Is that Colombian? I was trying to figure it out.
I don't remember. I've eaten there years and years and years ago. And it's called Pio Pio because that's the sound the little chickens make.
Well, I know the dishes it was stuff like plantains. And I'm like, this is some more island stuff. This isn't Mexico at all.
Is it Cuban maybe?
It's possible that it's Cuban. I thought I heard someone say Colombian, so that's why I'm defaulting to that.
Maybe.
And maybe you'll find the answer. But yeah, I ended up getting some veggies. I got there. I don't know if it was jasmine rice, but it was a type of rice, and it came with a thing of beans, which were awesome. But my favorite bit was they had this amazing green sauce that was spicy, and it's like I would have had the whole little container, but I wanted to. It was like a thing you shared with everyone. But I'm like, that shit was amazing, and it made it spicy. It was good. I could have taken that home. Like it was awesome.
So I found the answer. Pio Pio is Peruvian and Colombian.
All right, half right.
Mm-hmm.
Not often that you have either of those. You don't see those restaurants too often.
Not often. But I've heard good things about it. Again, it's been years and years and years. Like it was a hole in the wall when I went, right? And I'm assuming that it wasn't a hole in the wall.
No, not at all. I think there's multiple ones now.
I'm sure there are. This was probably 11 or 12 years ago was the last time I went. Oh man, I'm old. So, I mean, that's cool that you went and you got to enjoy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you, Macio, very much for hosting that and for inviting me on. It was good. And that about does it as well for the podcast this week. Thank you so much for sticking with us through the whole podcast and the Brocat block, which is once again the more personal side of Pulpa, Kelli, and I.
If you guys want to reach out to us on Twitter, let us know what you thought of the show. Leave us a question that we can answer on the next one. You can reach us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, at Pulpa Kelli. Kelly is spelled with an I.
Thank you once again for tuning in to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. I am Leader Daniel.
And I am Emperor Pulpa Kelli.
And Brocat Core. All will be well.